Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am joined this beautiful Monday morning by David and one of our forever guests, Daniel Naor, who'll be joining us shortly. We are very thrilled, beyond thrilled, let's say, and I choose my words carefully this morning, to launch this month's topic of spiritual practices today. We're focusing on visualizations and affirmations, which is essentially how words factor into our spiritual development and awareness and growth. The Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual energy forecast that shares with you the most powerful and practical wisdom and tools for you to navigate the coming 7 days. But essentially what we're sharing with you is not time sensitive. It's always eternal. It's always practical any day of the year, any year of your life. And so we chose this topic as the foundation for this month's exploration of spiritual practices, and we're also looking forward to having multiple guests this month to share their expertise in the specific areas that we're going to be venturing into. But this week specifically, we're looking at the effect that language and words and even repetition has on our spiritual progress. I think that for a lot of us, we get excited. I can speak about myself personally. I listen to a great class. I read something powerful in a book, and it stays with me for an hour, for a couple days. I might get excited about it and text it to my husband or a friend or even David saying, you know what, we should talk about this on a show. And then unfortunately, it sort of fizzles out into the mental library I have of volumes and volumes of powerful statements and sentences and concepts that I wish I could have more at the forefront of my daily life. And so what we're going to talk about today is not only some of those powerful visualizations and affirmations, but the maybe the word is the science. It's not really science because we're talking about Kabbalah, but the kabbalistic reason for their power, for their impact, and how the Kabbalists use them throughout the millennia.
We've spoken about it before. We want to remind our listeners what the Kabbalists say about words, that every word that every word that comes out of our mouth creates a force, a spark of energy. Sometimes we call them angels or just channels of energy. And so these words can create positive, constructive energies, or these words can create destructive energies. And a lot of times when we don't know why we're going through certain painful situations, or why there's a stuck energy in our life, it could be the manifestation of a lot of the negative forces that we've created through our words. And we've had classes about evil speech and what constitutes evil speech in the past as well, where that pretty much anything that we say that is not adding value and building is constituted as evil speech. And we want to be so careful that what we say comes with a lot of restriction. We think about it. We ask ourselves, well, is this person ready to hear it? Is this person want to hear it? Am I wasting people's time with my words? Am I just wasting my words? Am I hurting anybody with my words? Am I creating drama with my words? Am I just speaking because I'm trying to aggrandize my own image? Am I speaking from insecurity? Am I speaking from fear? Am I speaking, it goes on and on. So these are all examples of words that not only diminish the power of our mouths, so that when we do speak, people don't feel the energy, but also these are words that create negative forces that then we have to deal with throughout our lives as well.
And if what David just said is new or particularly remarkable to any of you, I encourage you to go back and listen to. We have multiple episodes on the power of words. Just search in the library, your podcast library, speech or words. I think we have probably at least four episodes on the topic. The pre-frame that David is giving is perfect because what we're talking about is, even though we're talking about the power of words, what we're talking about the power of the words we think and we say to ourselves, which I think is a much more subtle nuance when it comes to words. And I know that in the work that I've done with students and the work that Daniel does as well, it's really about uncovering those subtle messages that we don't even perceive them as statements. It's like that background elevator music in the mind, that mode of, it may be judgment, it may be criticism, it may be half glass empty, glass half empty. One of the things that I'm paying attention even in my own home is the things that are uttered under people's breath, right? That nobody really intends to. I'm not saying it because I want you to hear it. It's simply I can't control my response to something. So it's like, oh, bleep, or I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. Seems innocuous, but what are we really saying when we say I can't believe I did it? That's another way to say I'm an idiot, I'm not good enough, I never learn. And so I want to hand the microphone to Daniel to hear a little bit about his both experience, education, and advice on how to successfully adjust the elevator music in our minds so that there isn't that, I want to say it's like a drone, it's like a hum of negativity that's constantly interfering with the positive forward movement we're trying to make.
Yeah. No, as you were talking, Elisheva, first of all, thank you for having me back again. Love being here. As you were talking, I was thinking about the core sentences. There's something that's called core sentences. And when I meet with people, when I work one-on-one with people, the main thing that I focus on is really listening to their words, listening to what they're saying, and listening to what's been said between the lines. And it's something that we can all practice. We have plenty of opportunities to truly listen to others. This is such an important muscle when it comes to using the right words. Both working with people or working on ourselves is to become a good observer, is to become a good listener. So when we're working with people, to truly train the muscle of listening to them, listen to the words, the energy behind the words. There's sometimes people say something. Yesterday I had a session with someone and it felt like what they were saying, it was just an old story that they told themselves many times, and they were excellent in telling that story. And I'm sure they told that story to many, many, many people. So it sounded like a rehearsed story. There was no energy in it. I didn't even feel that they really believed it anymore. But because it was so well, they were so well trained in telling that story, it just became their identity. So when I work with people, I look for what are the core sentences? Where is there the biggest spiritual weight? Sometimes people say something, you feel, ooh, we're hitting something there, right? And oftentimes, and that's why you need to keep on digging and asking questions. And by the way, like, we can do it with ourselves too. I'm a firm believer, and I know David likes it too, like of talking to myself or talking to the Creator. Because when we say things out loud, we become aware of our own speech and the words that we're using. And we're becoming aware. And sometimes when I talk things out loud to myself or to the Creator, I become aware, boom, like at some point you feel something. Wow, I wasn't even aware that I believe this, or I believe that, or I had this insecurity, that insecurity. Going back to the core sentences, so whether we listen to ourselves or if you're not comfortable talking out loud, you can do it with journaling too. You can write things down, creative journaling, put a timer, 10 minutes at least, and just keep on writing. Write about what you see, write uninterruptedly, and you will see things will come up. And sometimes it's even better when we write it, because when we write it, we have it in black and white, right? We have it written down. It's like, wow. And when we allow just our subconscious minds to blur everything out, whether in speech or in writing, you'll be amazed what you'll be able to extract out of your subconscious mind. And when you reread it to yourself, like, pay attention to what we call the core sentences. Core sentences are the core beliefs. And in my work in looking into limiting beliefs is like, where does it come from? And that's another follow-up question. Once I identified the core sentence, and core sentences can be such things which are most of the time a lie,
Can you give us
They're
an
based on
example?
some
Can you give us an example of
Yeah.
a core sentence that you hear from people all the time?
Yeah. I don't matter.
So they'll just say that in the context of telling a story about their life. They'll just say, I don't
Yeah,
matter.
so the more you dig, they will come out like apropos, right? They won't come as the first thing, but the more you dig and ask them questions, or the more you write and journal, it will come out. It will come out, right? So there are things like core sentences like, I don't matter, I don't belong, I'm not enough, I'm not heard, I'm not seen. Those are some of the same topic line, right?
Now, is that what they? So this, I want to just cut in real quick because they're very powerful statements. What you're saying. So when someone says "I don't matter," are they saying that they believe that about themselves, or are they saying this is how other people make me feel? Right. So it's two different things.
So, yeah. So sometimes it's them, but then that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Then I ask a follow-up question like, who taught you that? Where did you learn that? Right? So sometimes you're right. Sometimes it's self-taught, but many times the voice that echoes in our head, it's not our own voice. We adopt it as our own, but it's not our voice. It's from childhood, from parents, from neighbors, from friends, from other family members. And then when you ask this question, where did you learn that? Who taught you that? Or who told you that? You'll be surprised, right? If the first thing, and many times I like to do this exercise, like close your eyes, think the furthest back that you can remember in a time when you felt this way. And first thing that pops to your mind. And then I say, wow, yeah, there was this and that in childhood, and my mom told me. And then once, and this is very powerful, listen to this, once we make the connection between the voice that I think it's my voice, and I think it's truth, and I think it's the reality, and once I link it to an earlier event, and I recognize who that voice actually belongs to, it's much easier to separate myself from it.
All right, so
because I understand.
All right, so hold on 1 second. There, you said something powerful. There's several stages. It sounds like you're going through several phases here. Phase one is identifying some of these core statements that we're making, which are disparaging or limited, and that we've adopted as our own voice. And then you're saying, and I want our entire audience to try to think practically what this means, not to participate in your own life right now, because this will be powerful. If you can associate this core statement with an event that occurred, which gave birth to that core statement or contributed to the core statement, this is phase two of helping unravel, remove the sting, remove the power of the core statement. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right. So it's all about finding, acknowledging, connecting the dots. A lot of times people say, well, how do I change? How do I change? Changing is not as complicated as people make it to be. A lot of the time it's unearthing, becoming conscious of something, unearthing it, and connecting the dots, because that dissolves it, that dematerializes it.
Absolutely. I think this is like 90% of the job. Once we realize that it's not my voice, or once I realize where it's coming from, and really just here's what it is. Here's what I always tell people. It's an identity that you adopted, that you assumed that this is who you are. And over a lifetime, you kept on nourishing that by believing these thoughts, and then even worse when we verbalize it, right? One level is, right, also according to Kabbalah, the different levels of the soul, right? So when we're dealing with thought is very powerful, and it's the level of the soul of the neshama, the consciousness, right? But in a way, it's more elevated, but on the other hand, it's also less manifested, right? So when we're dealing, as long as it stays in my consciousness, right, we're dealing with a higher level. But once I verbalize it through speech is, according to the Kabbalists, is the level of ruach, so it becomes already manifested. And then once I talk about it and I tell people that I don't feel worthy and I'm not worthy, and I repeat that story, and like we know, and we had many episodes, words have power and they create angels, And so the words then start to become actions, because if it starts with thoughts, I'm viewing myself a certain way. I'm the type of person that nobody likes. I'm the type of person that is awkward, that doesn't fit in, that I don't have a place, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, right? And that builds up insecurity. It starts with that image because that's what I've been told and I believed it, which again, by the way, one of the things I always tell people is not to label or to judge the process either. That's very important, because with Kabbalah, we understand that it all had to happen. It's part of my tikkun process. So we're not blaming our parents. Very important. Because I think in maybe other modalities and in therapy, sometimes people say, oh, this is where it comes from, bad mama, bad papa, right? Like, don't do it. No, it's very important to have a holistic view and to understand that, to accept that it had to happen. And it's all for the good. But now I have the spiritual tools and I have the capacity. There's a reason why I can see through it now. And the fact that I nourished and gave energy to that story doesn't mean I need to continue with that. Just the fact that we have a talk about it and I'm open about it now means that I'm on a junction here and I can make a different choice. Whatever happened up until this point, what I told myself, what my self-image was, what I believed was right, okay, great. Had to happen. Now I can, like you said, 90% of the work is seeing through the lie. And once I see through the lie, it loses its power, right? We learn in Kabbalah that when the Satan, when the ego is exposed, the ego starts to lose its grip, its power over us. Once we see the false image that we gave ourselves, and how the story is a lie, and it's not based on truth. Yeah, it's based on some events that gave me a reason, and it's adapted to my subconscious mind, and now the subconscious mind is holding on to it because it's a mechanism in which it can protect myself, believes to protect myself, has good intentions, trying to protect me, but I don't need it any longer. I don't need to believe that any longer.
So it's a powerful statement. If I think I'm unworthy, and then I will inevitably say words that mirror this unworthy feeling. These words, it's like you're creating unworthy angels, right? Imagine you have angels with little like t-shirts that say I'm unworthy. And I'm just thinking, somebody who walks into a room with you, they don't know what they're feeling, they don't know what they're seeing, they can't see those angels that wearing the unworthy jersey, but immediately they feel this desire to take advantage of you, or this desire to abuse you,
or ignore you.
And not or not to do business with you, or not to date you. Now, why do they feel that way? They don't know why they feel that way, because they're maybe looking at a beautiful person. This person could be, physically perfect, but because they feel unworthy, and they create unworthy angels. Somebody walks into the room, they feel the presence of these unworthy angels, and then they feel a desire to want to hurt that person. It's an interesting concept, because we know this, but I want all of us to really understand that whatever I think I am, I create an army of forces around me that exemplify, validate that share that vibration of energy. So when somebody walks into the room, there's a reason why they feel compelled to either hurt you, help you, want to be with you, want to run away from you. And then we're always confused as to why people treat us a certain way, or why we attract a certain type of person. It's not that we're attracting a certain type of person. It's like I'm wearing a kick me sign on my back, and I'm wondering why everyone's kicking me, because I'm wearing that.
Right. And the way that I've understood that on esoteric, I mean, not that what you said wasn't esoteric, but it's like we teach, and David said, I think in the last few episodes, really emphasizing the consciousness of certainty beyond logic, right? Certainty works both ways. If I know it's good and I'm a powerful channel of the light force of the Creator, there will be external forces to validate that.
That's right.
But when I know that I'm worthless, when I believe that it's never going to work out, when I think I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, I also have the universe, I want to say collaborating, but what's the word?
Conspiring.
Conspiring. That's
the word you're
too early in the morning for the show. Conspiring to prove me right. And so that's why having this awareness is so key, because we don't even realize those core sentences that are underlying the overall theme. Yes, I want my soulmate, but no, I'd rather I'm always going to be alone. I'm saying one thing, but the music proves different. And so bringing all of this onto the table is really just the first step in understanding, right? Daniel, this is the beginning, the recognizing those statements, those false beliefs, those negative programmings is the first step to replacing them with the reality we were trying to create.
I just realized something inspiring, because the Kabbalists tell us, now maybe this is why I'm making the connection here. I'm not reading from text.
Real life understanding.
This is my revelation.
Real time.
That the Kabbalists tell us that the time that we need to self-reflect or self-criticize, if we want to use that word, is a small window of time by ourselves before we go to bed. And I'm thinking to myself, because when you self-criticize, you do create, you actually have to go into the negativity. So you create a negative energy. But it's necessary, because a self-audit will help you cleanse and not be arrogant. But the Kabbalists are very clear not to do that in public, not to do that during the day. Like right now, we're on the show. I shouldn't be thinking about what's wrong with me, because I should save that for the night when I'm by myself. Because if I do that now, I'm going to create a vibration of energy that's going to go through this microphone, through this camera.
Totally. I can tell you how true that is, and how many times it baffles me, because what I often tell people in the sessions is, okay, the first part is to identify the limiting belief. We need to know that we're in prison, and we need to know what the prison looks like and what kept us there. But what amazes me so many times is that when it comes to the second session and I prepare them to move on, and I listen to the language, you can also tell 80% of the time, people don't want to let go. They don't want the solution. They don't want to move forward. Why? Because the attachment to the old, and it feels safe and it feels familiar. I don't know what the new looks like. So Daniel, tell me a little bit more where I'm stuck. Let's identify another limiting belief. I said, you identified it already. That job is done. Let's move on. No, but let me tell you another aspect that I didn't share with you last time. What happened to me when I was 12. I said, stop. Don't tell me more. We identify enough. Yes, as long as we're here, there's a lifetime of work to do. But right now, we identified already enough. Let's move forward, right? And so what I love to use, because I think it's very powerful, since we understand the power of words, also Kabbalistically, is the work with affirmations. And I would like to share a little bit about it, if it's okay with you guys.
Please.
That's what this show is about.
Yes. So there's so much stuff out there about affirmations, and yes, it is a very powerful tool. There's a few myths about it, and how people using it in an ineffective way, and there's some ways that, for me at least, and the people that I work with, I've found to be very, very effective. So the power of affirmations, it's self-talk, right? On a basic level, it's self-talk, is using the power of words. But there's a few things that are very important into how to use it. Number one, the basics. We don't want to use any negatives in affirmation, because our subconscious mind will erase the not or the don't, right? Just like little kids, if you tell them don't do that, they hear do that. So our mind works like that too. So we don't want to have any negatives. Number two, we want to use language, our own language. Many times I see people using negatives, and they wonder why it's not working, or they're using other people's language, right? They Google their affirmations and I'm telling but if it doesn't resonate, if it's not language that you would use, then it won't stick. It won't really stick with you. It won't really resonate. And number three, probably the most important, is the actual intention into how to use it. So you can say the words and it won't do anything to you, because it's not the words. The words are just vehicles. The words are just instruments to awaken something, or to align myself with an inner truth inside of me. So I can stand even in front of the mirror and do all this great exercise. I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. I can say it 1 billion times and it won't do anything if I don't do it with the intention. And the intention is, and it's simple. What I like about belief system work and affirmation is the solution is simple, the work is simple. So simple that the only biggest blockage oftentimes is that people say, well, it's too simple, right? It's too good to be true. I said, try it, right? Try it. Maybe we know the truth is simple, the light is simple. We want to align ourselves to that truth and that simplicity. So here's one thing that we can do. So if once I found my good affirmations that work for me, my own language, and a simple way to find some is just once we know the limiting beliefs, then we just need to find what is the counter to that, right? So if I don't feel belong, then I belong, right? If I don't feel I'm enough, then I'm enough, right? On a basic level, on a simple level. There's more, but let's start with the basic as an example. What we can do is simply having our eyes closed, because when we close our eyes, we disconnect from the realm of illusion, and we start to connect more inward, and all what's coming in, distractions, we fade it out, and we center ourselves, and we focus on really in our sensations in our body. You see, like our body, there's a lot of information stored in our body, a lot of energy stored in our body. Our body has a lot of wisdom on its own. So when we tune into our body and we say the words, I'm enough, but I say it with intent, and I listen to my body, and I tune in and I see what's happening. Does it tighten? Does it relax? Do I feel it in different parts of my body? Do I feel a heat wave somewhere? When we pay attention, we will start to feel it. And the way I like to view affirmations, the words are the vehicles. It's like acupuncture, right? The needle itself, there's no magic in the needle. The needle is not really, there's no special potion in the needle. But what is the needle doing? You put it in the right spot, and then it releases energy, that healing energy that is already stored inside the body. The body is already doing the work, right? So it's not the needle, it's our body, the wisdom of our body, and the healing and the light of the Creator is doing the work. So if we were to view this as a metaphor, as the affirmations, the words being the needle, and I just need to find the right spot, right? And the spot is my heart. The spot is my soul. I direct it towards my soul, my heart, and I feel and tune in. And I say the words. If I do it with intent, it's so simple and so powerful. And so sometimes I work a whole hour session just with people, just on their personalized affirmations, to find the right ones, to make it simple, because when they're too long, our brain doesn't register it so well. So it's really an art, and it can take a whole hour. It's an art. But once it's fine-tuned and I find the right words, the right way, and say it with the intention, and I do it, then it's repetition. Then it's only about the repetition. And it doesn't take, if I fed the lie and the limiting beliefs for 30 years, that's the beautiful thing about it. It does not take 30 years to undo it. For everyone is different. It can take a week, it can take a month, it can take a year. But here's where I like also to combine it with kabbalistic tools. Like if we use the affirmation, if we're scanning the Zohar before, or if our listeners or viewers are familiar with the 72 names of God, watching, meditating, visualizing, and we can talk more about visualizations after we're done with the affirmations, because there's a whole set about visualizations as well. But using the kabbalistic tools together with it, it goes even deeper on a soul level, right? It's like hardcore spiritual surgery, right? And if we're taking 5 minutes a day, and it's another thing I love about it, it's not complicated, it doesn't take a lot of time. We take 3 minutes, 5 minutes a day, just in quiet, with intent. We have our list. We can listen to it. We can saying it out loud is the most effective way. Sooner or later, you will see an energetical shift. You will start to feel differently about yourself. You start to actually believe that story. Why? Because you can tell yourself the story that you want to tell yourself. But it's just knowing that it works and that it's simple and it's up to me. I think people like to stay in the limbo and stay a victim to the old story. It's more comfortable than taking charge and saying, no, I can change it. I can do it. But the people that have the courage to do it see the results. Yeah,
it's interesting. 22 years I've been a student of Kabbalah. I think I always kind of dismissed this whole idea of affirmations. And I just thought it was silly. I want to get into the depth of the wisdom and learn and understand and kind of change the hard way. But I started, I know a lot of our colleagues specialize in this, and we're in this environment where we're constantly bouncing energy off of each other and learning from each other. And as as I started to learn from people, from my colleagues like Daniel, I'm like, all right, it's probably just my ego saying that this is silly. And as I started to implement affirmations and talking to the Creator, and it felt silly at first, and I'm sharing this for people who are perhaps dismissing this in their mind. It felt silly at first, but I started to see this very powerful energy, and I started to experience transformation and elevation of consciousness much faster than in any way I used to do before. And I give this practice to some of my students that I know are a little more stubborn, a little more very scientific and very stuck in their ways. And I'm like, hey, why don't you just try this and talk to the Creator? And it sounds stupid. It's like the whole thing. And they'll come back to me at some point and be like, I started to do an affirmation, or started to just talk to the Creator, and I started to feel things in my body, in my mind. I started to get ideas, creativity, inspiration. One person said it just totally freaked them out. It's a doctor, and very scientific mind. It's freaked them out because messages started to come and actually opened up a lot of stuff that maybe some people don't even want to open. So I want to let people know firsthand that if you're not open to this, or you think this is a nice lesson, but practically I'm probably not going to spend that 5 minutes doing it, don't miss the opportunity. Or better yet, take advantage of the opportunity, as Daniel would avoid the negative way of saying it, because it does work, and you're only going to know when you start trying it. So I do it in the car, I do it in the morning, I do it anytime I'm alone. I do either affirmations, or I will start talking to the Creator, just telling the Creator about my day, my problems, what I need help with, the stupidest little thing I will bring up to the Creator.
Well, I'm on the edge of my seat, by the way, to hear about the visualization. So can we get to that too? Because I have experience with affirmations, but I haven't really delved into visualizations to the depth that I can, and I want to know.
Yeah. So also visualizations, there's different levels, right? So I'm not sure what you guys want to start talking about, but there's visualizations in prayer and meditation, as far as visualizing our connection with the Creator. And there's a great Kabbalist that talks about it, that first inspired me to do this work. And as I started exploring it, I just felt such stronger connection in my meditations and my prayer, just feeling the presence of the Creator using visualization in our imagination. So that's one level.
So there's another level. Daniel, before you continue, I do want you to comment on something, because a lot of people talk about visualization, meaning let me visualize something that I want to happen. And I want to be clear here. For example, let's say you like someone and you want them to have a relationship with you. So you visualize yourself being with them. I'm teaching in my classes, and I think you guys are too, that if we use visualization in a very specific way to feed our lack or manipulate this universe, because who said this person is for you, right? You have a lack, you think they're for you, so you use the power of your mind and power of visualization to wish it so, but you could be interfering. This is a lack of restriction. So I want you to pontificate, if you can, right? SAT word for you, on this idea of where visualization and restriction diverge. And how to be careful not to use visualization in a way that's actually hurting my transformational process.
Yeah, so that's taking a different route, right? That's visualization as a tool for manifestation, which is powerful. It can be very powerful,
and it works.
But I think there's a very good, and it works. And I think it's a very good point that you bring there, David, to clarify, which is leaving space for the Creator to do the work. Right? Not being blinded or too fixated on what I think is right? Because then what happens, two things can happen. Either the manifestation does not happen and we get frustrated, which I come across too, right? Like people that get frustrated with, oh, you see, it doesn't work, or it didn't happen, right? Or another thing can happen, actually three options. The second option, it can happen, but it actually turns out to be the worst nightmare, right? So like, I thought this is what I wanted, now I got it, and it's horrible, right? And the third thing is that it's actually happening and it's great, which is also a possibility, right? But because we're limited by our five senses and physicality in our body, and we have zero clue really what the Creator wants for us. We know what we want, but we don't know what we need, right? And therefore, I feel it's something that I do, again, like I haven't seen it written anywhere or something, but I think it makes sense. If we visualize things as far as manifestation, it's great. There's no danger in it. You can visualize anything. And most likely is if it's a true, sincere desire that's coming from the soul, that it's something that is meant for you. It's not even something that I want. It's something that the Creator wants for you too. So most of it is sincere and is right. And we always want to leave an opening. And we can do that in the visualization too, or it can be like a short form of prayer or request. Saying, always leaving a door open, right? Saying, and if there's anything else that I don't know and I don't see that should be manifested, please include it in the manifestation as well. So you always want to, it's important to be aligned to a desire, have a desire, and have a vision of it. Absolutely. If we don't know where we're going, we're never going to get there. Absolutely. And always remember just to pull in the Creator into the equation as well.
It's the key. That's the key ingredient right there. That's the key ingredient. Visualize. You can wish and want, but you got to create the space for I'm also 100% open. If it's the Creator's will for it not to happen, but to have both is key here.
Yeah.
It reminds me, the Rav always used to say, there's people that our teacher, Rav Berg, used to say, there's people that say, well, I'll believe it when I see it, but they have it backwards. It's really, you'll see it when you believe it. And having that image, I would say it's not even of the tangible. It's not about seeing a dollar sign in a bank account, but it's more an energy. What does it feel to be abundant? What does it feel to have everything I need and to not fear and not worry? Visualize my life when I'm in that state. Then it's almost like the physical details fall into place because I am already in that space. And that's how in my experience with visualization, it's much more about capturing the energy of what I want to manifest rather than the details, because like you said, the universe may have something even better in store for me. I may be limiting myself by visualizing what I want, but I can visualize. It sounds funny because visualize implies that I see it, but it's like I want to be able to feel it. And once I step into feeling it, radiating that energy, experiencing those emotions on a regular basis, those are the things that shift the physical reality.
All right, take this home for us, Elisheva. Oh,
Daniel has one more thing to say. Wait, let's hear what he wants to say.
It's a little different subject on visualization, though. It's visualization with loved ones and people that we know.
Please.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. I don't want to cut you off.
Just because there's so much to say about visualization, different avenues you can go, but I would like to share this one just because I have been doing this in the last 6 months or so and doing it with people, and I saw such amazing results with that. So I'm excited about it. I wanted to share this possibility too. So talking about visualization with especially family members. In what way? What do you mean visualizing family members? You see, sometimes any relationships, relationships in general, sometimes, and we're talking also about the power of words, right? Sometimes we don't have the gut to have that conversation with a person. Sometimes we feel inside we should speak up or should address the elephant in the room, but I just don't have the courage, or I'm afraid in how it's going to be perceived. Is the person going to be upset? Is the person going to be angry with me? Or we feel a space with a person, and the longer we wait, the more the space is growing, it just becomes awkward. So in Kabbalah, we learn there is really no such thing as time, space, emotion. And on the level of the soul knows the truth, and we're all connected. So a very powerful exercise, and it reminds me of another one, we'll get to it, but a very powerful exercise is to visualize a person that you want to talk to. And again, it can be a short 5 minute, 3 minute, visualization. Visualize them standing in front of you. And I guide people through it and what to say, because it's usually better to use that just short and precise words. And again, same like with affirmation, feel into the body how it makes me feel. But it's so powerful. And I can tell you like so many stories where people saw instant results with it, like insane. I had it done with a person that had a pretty rough destiny, suffered a lot of abuse in her childhood from family members, and her mom pretty much knew about it but ignored it. And for years, she wouldn't talk to her mom about it. A lot of space between her and her mom, and they never talked about it. And so I guided her through a little visualization, like visualizing her mom, because these things are tough, right? I tell now a person, okay, yeah, just pick up the phone and talk to her about it. You cannot say such thing to a person, right? Like I wouldn't be ready for that. And I don't want to tell people something that I wouldn't be doing myself, right? So I wouldn't tell her like, just talk to her about it. But I said, let's try something out. Let's visualize it, because consciousness is everything. And if you visualize her in front of you and you bring in her soul and you talk to her soul, there's something that will happen. I never guarantee results, or I don't want to build up expectation, but even for her own inner peace, there will be something released when she is taking it out and talking to her about it, at least in visualizing her and seeing her and saying these things. So we did it. And she talked to her mother. I told her which words to use, what to say. And, she was in tears. It released a lot of emotions. It felt very cleansing afterwards. And very healing. But the crazy part is a week after that, she's emailing me saying, you wouldn't believe this. My mom called me out of the blue and immediately addressed the issue, which is like, was a taboo.
I love it.
For over 30 years, taboo completely, and apologized. And I had so much compassion for her. The first time in my life, I understood why. She was afraid. She had her own insecurities, but just from a visualization, right? Talking about the power of visualization. I love it,
because we're all Pisces here, the anti-confrontation sign. So this is the power. You got to use your weaknesses as your gift. So Daniel's like, you know what? I'm not going to confront in this world. I'm going to confront in the upper worlds. So I was laughing. I was just thinking about it. Daniel found the way to actually touch everyone's heart and soul without even having to say a word to them. I love it. You're going to confront me. I'm not going to confront you. That's great.
That's what they say about Jacob and Esau, right? That before the confrontation happened with Jacob and Esau, the biblical story, Jacob sent out angels and messengers, right? So he did the work first in the 99%. He sent love and messengers and angels to his brothers before the confrontation, because he knew it's going to be rough and difficult. And once the physical get-together happened, right, his brother, which hated him and wanted to kill him, hugged and embraced him and kissed him, right? So it's nothing new. We learn it all from Kabbalah.
I love it.
They had the same thing. Somebody, we had classes in Kabbalah too about proactive confrontation. And the big part of the work is doing the internal work, kind of confronting oneself and what's the issue I'm having. And when we asked for people to share their feedback, they said, I didn't even need to. The person came and apologized.
Yeah.
They didn't even, the real work. I think everything that Daniel shared with us today and everything we're trying to give over in these episodes is it's all for us to work. Like, we have the power. That's really the essence of, I think, what Daniel shares, not only in his classes, but also in his private sessions. What we try to share with our students is you have everything you need to do the work. It's not outside of yourself. And sometimes you just need that gentle nudge or helping hand to get you through the process. And that's a big part of the work that we do. Obviously what Daniel does, and I know that every time we have him on the show, we have people reaching out asking how can they
we
work
promote you
Daniel.
All the time. Daniel, we promote you everywhere I go. I promote you.
Yeah, you got to stop that, because you give me too much.
People come ask me questions. I'm like, you know what? That's a great question for Daniel.
Well, that's just it. It's a lot easier if you have a session with Daniel. It definitely makes
you can
the work
achieve
that
in
we
one
do.
session with Daniel what it would take me 6 sessions to do.
Exactly. So shorten the process.
Keep it a secret, David. Keep it a secret.
It's only a few tens of thousands of people are about to hear this, but we, as always, arrange for a discount for our listeners to meet with Daniel. So you'll see on the screen if you're watching the video cast. You just need to go to share.kabbalah.com/tikkun, TIKKUN, and enter Web20. You'll get 20% off sessions with Daniel. If you are listening to the podcast and can't write that down so quickly, you can email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com, and we will send you that as well. Maybe we can also put it on our website, which is energyboost.com.
Beautiful.
That offer is limited, though, so if you're listening, don't put it off. Book it, and even if you have to book it a few weeks out, the offer is definitely limited, as is our time. We wish, Daniel, that we could speak with you for hours, but that's simply not how we roll here at the Energy Boost.
Next time.
We'll visualize you.
Yeah, next time. Daniel even mentioned it, and I wanted to bring it up also. Next week, we're going to be talking about meditation and prayer as spiritual practices, and we're going to be bringing on an expert as well to discuss with us. So I'm very excited about this month. Thank you again, Daniel, for being with us this morning. Thank you, David.
Thank you, guys.
For
Always love it.
not skipping out when we have a guest.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week on the Energy Boost.